All right. Peace and harmony versus stability and understanding. I forgot what the hell I wrote. I think this is a very important distinction, especially as we get further and further into the decline of the United States. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but for the United States, the decline will make this all the more clear. To me, the terms peace and harmony, of course, words have power and words have connotations. I think that this idea of peace and love and all this sort of thing, these words have been destroyed by hippies and been destroyed by various factions that really have bastardized the use of that term. Same thing with harmony. You can go ahead and say that sort of idea comes from like Taoism and much more about the harmony of nature and that sort of thing. But of course, it's gotten screwed up too. So to me, I would rather use more practical terms and say stability and understanding. Because these are much more concrete terms that really haven't been as sullied. I'll put it that way as other terms. To me, when you start to get more into religion, this and that, you'll realize, of course, specifically with Christianity, is there are no other gods but Him. So this idea of harmony between, let's say, Christianity and Islam, of course, which that history is not great if you have just a kind of a surface level understanding, as I do, from the Crusades and through the invasions of Europe by Islam. You realize it's not harmony. It took many wars and everything else. Now, of course, people will say, "Oh, the Crusades were nothing but a way to get gold and plunder Middle East or whatever." Like I say, I'm not as well defined on those sorts of things. So I'm going to be very careful. I've already dipped my toe in it, and now I'm taking my toe out. But this idea of harmony, this the idea of peace and harmony in life or whatever, that's nonsense. There's an understanding of, between Islam and Christianity. It's like, hey, you come around here, we're going to fuck you up, right? This is the whole idea of the Ottoman Empire and the winged hussars from Poland, right? Saving Europe from, destruction through Islam or whatever. Now, of course, like I say, did Islam, help to revolutionize mathematics? Of course. Did Islam revolutionize many other? Of course. I'm not going to be some, you know, some basic sort of Christian, some evangelical Christian who's like, oh, Muslim, that's associated with bin Laden and Taliban. No, no, no. I understand Islam has a deeper history that I know nothing about. I'm being very careful about that. But it's an understanding, right? It's an understanding that, yeah, we want our religion to spread, what Muslims may say. And Christians say, we want our religion to spread. The heads are going to bump, right? That's the understanding that exists. And sometimes there's a truce. That's another word as well that's more realistic. A truce, a ceasefire. That doesn't mean the shit stops. It means it's like, let's take a break. This idea of peace and harmony, that's nonsense. And I don't like those words, generally speaking, because they've lost their meaning. When I was a younger man, and I would end, you know, text or whatever with peace and love and shit. Ugh. I knew at a point it was bullshit because I wasn't living that well and my mind was screwed up. But that's beyond the point. My point is that words do have meaning. And unfortunately, they can get manipulated. Um, the same thing with stability. Stability just means that, you can count on things, right? It's like you can go to the grocery store and expect to see your favorite drink or you can pick up your ham sandwich or something like that at the deli, right? The delicatessen, Pick up your ham sandwich, get your favorite drink or whatever, and head home on a Friday or something like that and say, man, that's good. And sit down and watch your whatever it is, on YouTube, or you just watch regular TV like a boomer. That's stability. This idea of harmony, uh, that doesn't really exist, I think, in human nature, in my opinion. People expect stability. They expect to go there and expect it to be there and have the same price. I know for years, my parents would always say, I'd always eat something out of the fridge, some steak or something like that my dad was saving. And that was stability. They expected it to be there. And of course, inevitably, they'd be pissed off, understandably so, that I ate it. Took me years to figure that out, mostly because I'm a selfish asshole. But beyond that, that's the idea of stability. This idea of harmony doesn't. I would argue doesn't even really exist in nature. It's just like oh well, they grow this and whatnot, or you see these cutesy little things, which are, like I say, it really tugs at the heartstrings of a deer and a you know and a dog getting along or something like that. Yeah, that does exist to a point, I guess, but it's not really the main thing. It's like, yeah, nature is vicious, and it doesn't preach the same things. And I mean, like I say, that kind of feeds into more of like a survival of the fittest sort of narrative. Yeah, and like I say, that's not necessarily always true, but generally speaking, that's true. You can find plenty of videos. I remember one I saw a while back of a yapping dog or whatever yapping at a tiger. I think it was in like India or something like that. And of course, like that dog got too close and then right in the mouth and dragged off. It's just one of those things that feeds into the idea of understanding as well. It's like you understand. It's like if you fuck with that person, you're not gonna come back. It's just like they're the same thing. This is the same thing with human. The human kingdom, if you will, is that yeah, you don't fuck around with some folks. It's like that. You don't mess with the big guy who's got muscle on top of muscle, and you say, yeah, I want to challenge you to a fight, or I think that you're full of shit. You don't do that because that person's gonna handle you. Or you don't mess with the main guy in the mob, or whatever example you want to give. Um, these are just basic examples, but I think that it's something worth bringing up. These are important distinctions to make in words and just how things are. Doesn't mean you have to like them, but it means you have to work within it. There's an understanding. It's like to me, these are much more understandable in pragmatic terms. And maybe I'm getting too big brain with this, but I think it's important to realize the difference between these things of universal peace and harmony with nature. And give me a break. No. I'm trying to make these distinctions because I think it's important for people to realize this. I think for people on the ground, it's like, yeah, there's going to be an understanding to me that, yeah, things are going to get worse. It's like Biden didn't want to help, people like me who have like over $20,000 worth of student loan debt because he did it out of the goodness of his heart. No, he did it to get votes. He also did it because he knows that he was able to get one over on, good old Bernie Sanders, right? And so because of that, he said, well, we got to make this promise and we got to get the millennial vote. We got to get the Zoomer vote. So we're going to do this. But like I say, it just proves once again, he's not, this is pragmatism. That's another word of it. There's an understanding. It's like, he has to keep some things. He has to keep some things in the loop and, has to keep some promises. Other things are out of his control. I don't really care that much about Biden necessarily. There are plenty of folks that are in charge that he probably doesn't have any idea about. But yeah, I mean, that's my view of it. Words do have meaning, and I think that we have to see things from a more practical, pragmatic view than sort of a la-di-da, this is, this is the way it should work sort of thing. This is the same type of thing of, what socialism should be versus what it is. It's why people cope about what the Soviet Union was. It's like, feel as you want to, and I'm going to be fairly, and I've kind of gone somewhat anti-commie in some ways and kind of promoted it, but I think at the end of the day, the Soviet Union did what it had to do. When Stalin took over, a lot of patriotic Russian narrative came back. This idea of the international being replaced by, the actual Soviet anthem in 1944, I believe, with Soyuzhny Rejim Respublik, and became more of socialism in one country because they were able to tap into, the the Russian Orthodox, tap into the Russian history and try to separate it from the czarist notions. And of course, they did that for practical reasons. It's not that they gave up socialism. No, they redefined it so that they could make it work and to be more applicable to ordinary people. Now, of course, ultimately it fell due to corruption and fell due to stagnation. And I don't think anyone would argue that. I mean, I think that there are other reasons as well, but I think that's what it comes from. It wasn't incompetence. I think that the Russians had plenty of, and the Soviets had plenty of pragmatic views. But I think that it's an old system. It was led by old guys who just wanted to maintain the system, much the same way as it is now. A bunch of old women and old men who want to maintain the system and have their little lives as long as they can. But it doesn't work that way. It never has. It never will. And we're going to see a lot of things change in the next 20 to 30 years. And it's not going to be pretty. With that, I hope y'all enjoyed that and got something out of it. And see you later. Goodbye. And God bless.